I want to kick this show off with an investment group. And you're like, why would we talk about investment groups? There is a company named OTIS, and they own stuff. And you get to buy a piece of their stuff. Now, the stuff I want to talk about specifically is this company owns a Hulk 181 CGC 9.8 with an evaluation of $35,000 to it. Now, you, as an investor, get to buy a portion of that for $35. So imagine, guys, you don't get to actually physically own this book, but you get to own shares of a book.
Yeah, this is an interesting concept. I want to know the community's gut response to what we're saying and what has actually happened, because this comic book was available to the public and quickly sold out. We now have individuals in the comic book community who own a share of a Hulk 181 graded at 9.8 that has potential to raise in value. And the idea is that these would be looked at as stocks of a collectible asset that could then change hands. The value can fluctuate. Thus, you owning a piece of this Hulk 181 could make you money if you sell long-term if the asset increases value.
So there are officially 1,000 shares of this book out in the ether. And this is just one item that this company has put out. They are all about alternative assets and stuff that current culture finds a lot of value in.
Yeah, explain how this works specifically, because this is one company that is owning and purchasing collections.
So OTIS has this platform. They have a website. They have a beautiful app. Now, I don't feel like it's fully up and running.
They just started this in July. The app's been running, but as of July, these items started to become available to the market. Hulk 181 at 9.8 was the first that I can tell that was available to the community to invest in.
Which is interesting that they chose a comic book to invest in. So they're really going for things that hit a cultural base right now. So there's going to be shoes you can invest in because people love shoes as a collectible. People love artwork. So just imagine that you have this database on your phone of things that you've invested in. So you wanted, let's say, a Picasso or a Warhol painting. You can't buy that outright. You're never going to own that in your house, but you can literally have an entire folder of your investments of a painting or other artwork, comic books, records, shoes. You name that collectible and they have it to offer, you can be a partial owner. And that's kind of intriguing for a lot of people.
It's brand new, and we're definitely not recommending this right now because this is definitely a conversation. It even says on their website, you know, these are assets, these are high risk. Typically, when you're dealing with like in-hand objects that have value, they typically depreciate, right? So be careful where you put your money. But I thought this was a great topic for discussion because this is brand new. Last couple months, this started happening. And I'm trying to think like long-term what ramifications this would have, because this right here is reserved for those grails, these books that are so unattainable to a collector that they would want to put money into them and be okay with the fact that they probably will never actually have it in hand, but want to use their portfolio and run it as if they actually own the collection. Can you imagine at a convention where someone's wanting to do a trade across the board or a transaction in general, where I'll give you a couple of my shares of my Batman 1 that I own in place for an actual comic book you have right now, and having that be worth something because on your portfolio, you can sell your stocks of your particular asset. This is intriguing. I don't know. I like the idea, but I also can see that there are definite risks involved.
Yeah, you really got to start thinking about how is this going to be regulated and monitored? I mean, who puts the evaluations on these items? Because honestly, the grand scheme is to have your investments grow.
Right.
So how it's going to grow is going to be interesting. How is it going to be traded is also interesting. And can it publicly be traded like at a ShowCon floor or transferred? It's going to be, like you said, I like the concept of it. Practicality, who knows? I'm not looking to jump in early, but I could see this playing out and, you know, being a fun way to say you own a portion of something absolutely amazing.
If you look on YouTube, there's very little people even talking about this app. Not a whole lot of ratings have come in on it. I don't even think you can sell your assets at this point because it's so fresh. But New York Times covered a piece on it, and I thought that the fact that they came out the gate with a comic book and the fact that they are advertising comic books on their website that this is going to be a place where you can manage a portfolio, it's like, okay, they're in the art game, they're in the comic game. This could be the early adaptation of what future collecting will look like for those who don't have the money to invest in something that has maybe under a print count of 100 even. You know, I'm thinking like those Action Ones. People want to own a piece of Action One. They may be comfortable putting their money into an Action One, but they won't have the amount of money they will need to purchase a low-grade copy. So maybe they can get a 20th or a 30th or a 100th of a percentage of a copy and then actually watch that grow in an investment portfolio, much like their 401k would. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you get to invest in something that you like outside of just, a passion of yours, outside of just some kind of digital stock that you just invest in because, your broker told you to do so.
Right. Like, let us know what you think. Would you put money into a digital comic investment? I don't know. I'm like, this is brand new to me, so I'm still thinking about it. Yeah. And there's not like there's any available right now. This is more of a, let's see what happens as this goes on next year. But who knows? A Cap One or something equivalent may hit that site. They were aggressive and did a Hulk 181 at 9.8. I bet in order to get more people invested, they're going to have to put something bigger on that app that will get people to pull the trigger and say, you know what? I want a piece of comic history. And I think this has some room to grow in the next couple of years. So heck, I'll give money to essentially a museum to hold my comic, at least my portion.